G'day everyone, Matt Elder here, and today we're going to talk about Zapier or Zapier, depending upon your pronunciation, and if this, then that, shortened to IFTTT. For more videos in this series or just general videos, check out www.ukhomefinder.net/resources, and it will have some other goodies there, all for free, and get into whatever you need to there. So first of all, we're going to talk about why. Why do we have these programs? What do they exist for, and what do they do? The big one is to share information. If you have an application that you use in your business or just in general, it's a matter then of how do you get that information from that app across to another app, and you might want it to do other things and work on the data and information. So that's the main reason why we're having a look at this. And then the second reason is also this sense of automation. If you're moving a lot of data from one app to another, or something which gets done on a frequent basis, then these tools are great for doing this because they work 24/7, 365, and because of the time that they do it and whenever they work and things like that, it can always be going on down there in the background. And with this level of automation, it's actually relatively cheap or free in the case of if this then that. So what exactly are we talking about here? Well, the idea is basically having a bridge between two applications. So if you have one app that you use in your business and then you want to move data across to a different app, how does that actually get done? And this is where these programs can come in, and vice versa, information going the other way. Now, if you're using a specific application, for them to go through, and they're going to be probably having a hard enough time just getting the app to work and do the things that it needs to do. So then to try to have, on top of that, being it compatible with the thousands and thousands of different applications out there and being able to share that information across, that's generally not going to happen. The expense and the overhead is far too much for that to occur. So what happens then is, if you have a business which is developing an app, and they can then have a standard so that they can communicate with a third-party app, then they can let that third party worry about the communication and the information going out to all the other applications. And that's essentially where if this then that or Zapier come into it. They basically do all that sort of heavy lifting. So if the people, the company developing an app, so long as they can communicate within a format with either of those, Zapier or if this then that, then that's their whole business, is to then deal with that information flow to the rest of all the other apps. So the question becomes, how does this actually happen and how does it occur? And it's more or less through a series of steps. You usually have some sort of trigger event, whether it's receiving an email or a thermostat getting switched on or a light coming on, or any range of a number of things. In the first app, that will trigger something off and it will do something. It will then, through Zapier or if this then that, it will then talk to the secondary app and something will happen there. Now this process that happens, you can think of as kind of like recipes, which is actually in the if this then that space, that's what they actually call it. These steps, it's like a recipe, and in the Zapier space they call them zaps. So it's just basically a series of steps which outlines, if something happens over here, then I want to do something, take information or something from this one, app number one, and do something with app number two. And the nice thing about doing this is that this is generally done through a WYSIWYG or a wizard or something like that. So it's a lot of just clicking the different boxes and connecting things together. You don't need to have a level of coding or understanding of that. So that's great because it really flattens down the learning curve, and you can get into it without understanding or needing to know any sort of code. So just go through and just have a quick look in terms of Zapier or Zapier. This is their sort of homepage here, and as you can see in the top left corner, you can see it says search 1,000 plus apps. So you can go through there, type in whatever sort of app, and it'll start to show you the different apps that are available. And then when you go through and click on that, it will then start showing you different apps that are joining together and linking together. In terms of Zapier and what it's aimed at, it's more so aimed at the business apps, and you can have about 5 different zaps, and then if you go over 5, they then start charging you, which I think is about £20 or $20 a month, and then it ramps up from there. And then, as with anything, when you have the paid version, the triggers happen I think every 5 minutes, whereas if you don't have the paid version, it's every 15 minutes, and there's other just limitations. But in the overall scheme of things, £20 a month or $20 a month, when you consider that's what 1 hour of a staff wages, it is really cost effective. The other one is If This Then That, and this is their homepage. And the way which I sort of think about these guys and how they differentiate from Zapier is that they're more the Internet of Things. So whether it's lights, alarm clocks, thermostats, and those sorts of things, and their whole thing is that they are free. So that's where they sort of sit. There's not much overlap between them, but again, they still have the same sorts of ideas and creating these recipes or zaps and having a trigger and a series of steps to set information off. So just a quick summary. We looked at this in terms of sharing applications and the information and the data between them and having some automated functions there. And the way that this is done is through If This Then That and Zapier. And they do that through having a wizard and a series of recipes and so forth. Check out the following videos and I'll go through and be more specific on how this all gets set up and different examples and ways of doing it. Otherwise, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out at me, matt@mattelder.com, or the other one which I'm using a lot these days is Instagram, which is mattelder_UK. Thanks very much and have a great day.